Okay, welcome everybody. So my name is Harpal Kochar. In this session today, we will go over what it means for college admissions around SAT, ACT, and which one you should consider and what typically these things portray. We'll talk about how it impacted my own daughter's curriculum and um, her academics. So we'll talk about multiple of those kind of points. Okay. So 3 points in the agenda. Which one should you take? What is the timeline? What are your next journeys from there on to college? But just at the very onset, let me just explain what happened with our case. Shreya landed up taking SAT. I had told her in the 11th grade to put some good effort into making a decision between SAT and ACT. She did not put that time. And but she was like, no, I'm SAT is good. She landed up with a 1400 on SAT, and she wasn't satisfied. Typical, you know, uh, type A person she is. Um, we had a academy that we joined called Excite over here locally. Good guys, but one classroom full of students and generic training, so that wasn't working out. We got her a private instructor to work with her one-on-one for a few sessions. She took the SAT again. I think she landed up getting a 1425. So we weren't really happy that she worked like so hard on this. And then somebody told us that, did she even consider ACT? And she's like, yeah, I thought about it. We're like, no. Did you actually take the test? Did you go through the process to once on your own to see if it fits your style? And she said, no, she did not. Lo and behold, she took the ACT once. She liked the style. When she took the exam, she nailed it. She got 34 on 36. And that was like literally close to a perfect score, which in SAT parlay would be more like 1500s. I've also heard East Coast schools and particularly the Ivies prefer ACT scores. We'll go into the details on what that is. STEM schools typically prefer SAT scores, but all that was pre SAT going optional. Now SAT being optional in most schools changes the game quite a lot. SAT is optional on the name of it. It is not really optional because this is my personal take on it, which is SAT is for multiple reasons. One, the University of California system has already been SAT blind, and they said they're going to be blind all the way to 2024. They'll consider putting a test in play after that. My gut feel is nothing's going to change between now and then. SAT will become obsolete as a least common denominator very quickly. But for now, for these students who are going next year and the following year, SAT is not really optional for multiple reasons. One, because optional meaning they are still taking the test, which means it's not going to be dinged against you. If it was a UC, they're saying we are SAT blind, so we don't want it altogether. Okay, I'm going to put Egyptian queen on mute. And the where was I going with that point? The SAT blind. But at the end of the day, this is a rich man's game. Okay, I mean the schools want only a few students who are going to require financial aid, and that also they want the federal government to chip in. So they want students who are going to get Pell Grants. They don't want to give up their own institutional discounts, which what they call as scholarships, merit scholarships. Those are basically institutional discounts. Any private institution does not want to give away its money. I mean, you wouldn't want to give away either. So the point is that when an SAT score of 1500 is presented, implicit in that thing is the parents have the money to get this kid to a good, the parents really care and the students really care, which means they will be ready to pay more fee. And if it's usually a student who's on Pell Grants or, historically from minorities that can't, don't go for these kind of exams, their scores will be much lower. So my take is it's a rich man's game. We play it by the rules that are set up in the world. Take it, okay? And I'll take questions whenever you have. Just put your questions in the chat and I will answer them as I keep looking at the chat window as well. Okay.
Could you clarify that?
Yeah. What part, Julie? What are you asking?
You had said, and then I just heard you say to put questions in chat, sorry. But you were saying, I thought it was really interesting that colleges do want students who will get Pell Grants because they don't want to give away their dollars. But how does that relate to your score?
It's a theory. The theory is, and you can feel free to debate it, which is the score implicitly, if your student lands up nailing it, right? They get they ace the SAT. They're either super gifted or they have had private coaching to get it done. Either ways, this college wants you. When they say the word SAT optional, it does not mean that if you send the SAT score and it's good, that they will not give you a advantage for multiple reasons. A, it shows you as that you were dedicated, which is what colleges want, because they want students who will go through all 4 years of college and not drop out in between. Again, I always talk about the financials because I don't look at universities and colleges as nonprofits. I see them as royally as pure businesses. So that's how I think. Secondly, if you got a very good score, you either had the money to get a counselor or somebody with you, or you showed your own dedication, implicitly shows that you do have affluence, because people who are not in affluence are not able to take these exams. SAT were always created as a way to basically let the more privileged students go ahead in life. The American system is not, the American dream is not really there in these colleges, in the system, is my humble opinion. Okay. There are 2 questions in the chat. Let me quickly take those questions. The questions came in saying, if the kid scored SAT really well, no, not at all. If you scored really well, Seema, in the SAT, there's no point of considering the ACT. I heard that med school program ACT is important. No. I mean, it is the ACT. We'll talk a little bit about the ACT. The ACT having a knack towards a little more on the sciences, but I've just the folklore is Ivies and East Coast schools prefer ACT. But if you already taken the SAT, if your child has done really well in it, there's no need to do it ever again. I mean, you're better off spending that time creating demonstrated interest and working on the essays and working on picking up more APs versus spending time taking an ACT.
Okay, great, thanks. Because she already appeared for a SAT and her score came out really well. So then we heard that from some of our friends that their kid got some additional advantage just because they took ACT and they were going to med school. So now that even my daughter is thinking, she's still not sure, but she may opt for a pre-med option. So then we were like, oh, then should she have taken ACT, because her SAT score is exceptionally good. I mean, she scored 1580.
Perfect. Just don't kill your kids.
Yeah, exactly. So we didn't want her to do it, but then look, hearing these other thoughts, we were like, let us confirm.
Yeah, no. I mean, it's your call what you want to do ultimately, but I don't think there's a need for it. You're fine.
That was very.
Yeah.
Your view was very helpful on that.
I mean, mine is very rational, logical, business oriented. I don't talk like people in academia talk.
Right.
So I'm open to being challenged. Just bring it up if you don't agree with it. But that's just my take on it. In 10th grade, you want to take the SAT. That's the timeline. 11th grade, you take the SAT and determine which one do you want to take. The second part, most students miss out on. Like, for example, Seema, even your child, they're making the determination, the time to make the determination. If it's over, it's over. We did make Shreya take the SAT the second time, but her score didn't change. And I'm saying, if you want to change, if you really believe, I believe if your child has gone to a place where they like Elite or one of these, factories which produce students, if you feel your child has not gotten good enough a score, and if they give it again on their own, they'll get it, forget it. It doesn't happen. If you really want them to get like a monumental change, say, for example, your child scores a 30 on an ACT, and your goal is to get it to 34. You're not going to get that by telling the child, study more. It doesn't happen. Okay. They know a certain amount of things. It's best to go to the Vyzant website, find a tutor, pay the tutor $300-400 for 4-5 sessions. They go very targeted on those specific areas and they chisel the child for those things. And I've done that for many of my students. Okay. So just focus on that, but that's not for Seema, that's more for the other parents. Okay, 11th grade. So there was another question in the chat. What is considered a good SAT score? Anything over, I would say, Okay, so that Georgetown is one of the only schools left one of the very few left which do not make SAT optional. They want SAT, ACT scores to be provided. Georgetown's median, what they call the median SAT is 1420. So that's this year. Okay, so that tells you 1420 is pretty much for a good school. Like Georgetown is like a 12 to 14% acceptance rate, very heavily regarded law school. 1420 was a score. So I would say 1400, 1425 is a very good score. And you don't need to, like, I have students, parents who come to me like, oh, my guy got 1425. I want him to get 1500. That's stupidity. SAT, ACT do not get you into a school. They keep you out of a school. Okay. They were from the very beginning, they were created as ways for universities to very quickly, when they get Harvard gets like 30,000 applications, they could reject 10,000 right off the bat. Okay. By saying, okay, if the scores are less than this, and if they're not on, requiring financial aid and yada, 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 they would look at the FAFSA, they would look at this, and they would say, fine, out. Okay. Because they didn't want to even look at those applications. SAT, ACT keep you out. The reason was in the past, they had to report, I think they still have to report that number, which is what was the 25th to 75th percentile average that they selected for the cohort. That number has to be reported, and schools always wanted to show that they are very cool. So they would always want that ratio, that number to be pretty high. Okay, so hopefully that answers the question. What's the purpose of PSAT? This does qualify, by the way. The National Merit Scholarship Qualifier Test is important. So if you're in the junior year, take the PSAT. If you have, I think it's out of 1500, and if you get 1400 odd something, you do qualify. If nothing else, it sounds really good on your resume when you send that to the Common App. So it says not used for common admissions, will not be reported. But if you say you were a merit qualifier, they will take your word on it. Okay, so it does look good. So do give the PSAT. It's a good practice for SAT as well. Don't worry about this PSAT scores. I need to keep moving. This is just a breakdown. Again, all these slides are available for you to look at. So SAT is between 400 and 1600. That's what we are shooting for. Which one is the exam is right for me? So we'll talk about it. SAT made the essay optional, so that's why you see this blank area over here. The scoring is within 3 hours. This slide deck is a little old, but this is kind of the breakdown, reading, writing, math, and with calculator, no calculator. Again, I didn't have time to really check what happened in the last 2 years, but this deck is fairly accurate in terms of how the scoring is looked up, okay, between the different areas. The evidence-based reading, this is the topics that they expect you to read. So this is about critical reading, right? So I make my students do a lot of reading of New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal. Wall Street is a little harder, but look at op-eds. And when you look at an op-ed article, and if you can read the op-ed and understand how it is getting persuasive very quickly, making its point, making a conclusion, then you understand what it is. And evidence-based reading writing is very critical as you pick it up over here, take it all the way into essays in your junior, in the senior year. I find so many students who come to me, they have jack clue about how to write a decent essay. They all think in Shakespearean style. They can write beautifully. They have good language, but it's not conversational. It doesn't flow. It doesn't sound persuasive. Okay, so learn those skills. Those typically come by reading newspapers. Math section, advanced. So, okay, this one might be important. This is the areas of concentration of SAT. Sometimes SAT students, even 10th graders or 11th graders, land up taking the SAT because, if they've done advanced math and algebra, like you've done algebra 2, you're good. I don't think you need calculus for being able to give SAT. Okay. Composite total of the areas. Okay, ACT. Okay, ACT is scored out of 36. 3 hours without the essay. I believe it's an optional essay. I don't know if they've gotten rid of it altogether or not, but essay has become optional. In the SAT used to be required. So now SAT actually got rid of it altogether. So out of math, reading, and science, this is the question you were having earlier, Seema, about the science, which is out of 36 points. So composite score is out of 36, average of all 4 sections are taken. So you take all the scores divided by 4, that's your section. So if your child is not very strong in math, it might show up over here, but if they're good in science, you could make up because it's a division by 4 of 4 domains, okay? this actually is this is the part I like most. So he's compared the, look at this. So SAT compared takes you on 5 different points. So it actually has a pragmatic side to careers too. ACT does not. It just takes you on academia. Okay. Humanities, SATs has a little more. Okay. So like history, social sciences. Well, social sciences are here. Humanities are more psychology type. Okay. Social sciences, history, SAT is huge in that. So if your child is good at APOSH and some of the subjects, this might be a place for it. Now, Shreya was very good at APOSH, okay, but she still did better in ACT. Literature, ACT scores more, okay, little more, not a whole lot more. Careers, SAT has some section of it which it talks about knowing who you are going to become. ACT has nothing on that. Math skills, there are 2 questions. Okay. Can you talk more about the merit scholarship based on the PSAT? It's a small amount of money that is awarded based on the scholarship, which honestly, actually, I don't know what it gets you. Shreya did not, she got the scholarship, but we didn't get anything from them. So I think it's something about the schooling within the state, or I don't know honestly, Julie, what it is, but just have to investigate what that is. It just looks good on your resume. That's all I know. Okay. Data analysis, SAT is more into that. So you can see maths, data solving, problem solving is more in SAT, much little in ACT, which is kind of the reason why a lot of students who are math oriented tend to go more for SAT. You can see the algebra is both the cases similar. In fact, algebra is a little less. Well, I'm kind of being too picky about the bars, but geometry, ACT is a lot lesser. It's a lot more, ACT is much more. Geometry, which is understandable, they are more geometry focused. Trig is very minimal in SAT. So if you're not really trig focused, if you're not going to calculus, ACT might be it. Actually, no, ACT might be it. So it's not too much trig. So that's kind of the high level. This is what I like this drawing a lot, to show it to my students, saying, okay, I tell my students to take the SAT and the ACT to make a feel of it, but obviously I have a lot of lazy students. I just show them this chart, saying, okay, look at this part, make a decision just based on this. Where do you think are your strengths? And this is fairly prescriptive of an area where you should be looking at. Okay, similarities, yeah, rubbish. Okay, whatever, it's similar stuff. I take them to string before junior year. I asked some students, even look at it in 10th grade, early 11th grade. The sooner you get done with this garbage, is better. I call it garbage because it's purely a rich man's, system. And I don't like it for that reason. It actually creates more problems in the world than lesser. So that's that. Okay. This is how you set up for these exams. Khan Academy, by the way, for SAT has a free SAT. ACT website has a free ACT. So have your children go for these things. Okay, try them out. This is the guidelines when you would take these particular tests. Fall, you'd start planning for PSAT, then take PSAT over here. Plan for spring juniors for AP testing and SAT, ACT, which is not a bad time, because it kind of gets them in the gear of saying, okay, now honeymoon's over. Like, we've got to really work our tails off. They do the SAT in spring, AP tests by May. You push them into the college admissions diaspora by June, July, August. They start writing their essays, get in the Zoom process of the whole thing doing. September, have them start writing the Common App. October, have them put in the UT or the UC app. By November, get it out of the way. By November, do the early decisions for whichever schools you're looking at, get a few early actions in there. Think of it, right? It's if you really look at the whole thing, it's a dance. It's not too much. I mean, most people think, oh my God, this is such a horrible system. It's a dance. Okay, go with it. It's actually a fun dance. To me, it's fun, which is kind of why I do it here. So